As somebody that is a fan of the Reply series, especially Reply 1988, 800 Memories is a drama that speaks directly to my heart. I don't know, there's something about this era, about seeing South Korea in a time of economic boom, as things are changing. There's just something about it that speaks to me. It has a very nostalgic feeling. It might also be because this was, I think, a time of just boom in like music and things like that. Because it's just something about this era that I love very much, and I love watching dramas about this era very much. And so, 800 Memories is one that I knew I was going to check out because of that one fact. It just gives me so much like pleasure for some reason. Even though it has some tone to it a lot of the times, it is still like an era I just like watching. For those who don't know what this drama is about, The 100 Memories is basically a new Korean drama that's currently airing. It is a 12 episode drama airing on JTBC, and it basically follows these two girls, Ko Young-rae and Jung-hee. Ko Young-rae is a bus conductor. This was during the time when they existed. Just like elevator attendants, right? This was like a job people could have. So Koyongre is a bus conductor for a transportation company at that time, and they basically take the change and help in stewarding passengers, right? Like a air hostess, right, for planes. And it is in this job that she meets Sojangri, who comes in to become a bus conductor, and they take to each other very quickly and become fast friends, despite how different their personalities are. I would say Koyongre is the cute, timid kind. She's very strong, but you can tell she is, just by her nature, a little scared of her own shadow, right? Whereas Junghui is different. Junghui, you can tell, has gone through a lot, and she's more bold, more confident, and kind of understands the world a little bit better than Ko Hyungri, right? Even though she's also naive, and you see moments where that shows up and kind of softens her character to make us realize that actually, like, this is just a young girl as well, right? But you can kind of see why they are friends, and you can kind of see that goodwill they have towards one another. Now, what better to destroy a friendship than love? At some point, Koyongre develops a crush for JPL, who is this boy that comes from a rich family, right? Koyongre, you can tell this is her first love, and she is very passionate about this. Unfortunately, JPL seems to like Jungli, right? And so that is this love triangle that's going on. But wait, there's even more. Because there are other characters, and I will say that most of the other like male leads in this that we see often, like JPL's friend, Youngre's like brother's friend, people like that, all of them seem to like Youngre, right? And so you have kind of like this love hexagon where a lot of people like Youngre, but Youngre likes JPL and JPL likes Junghi. And it seems like Junghi also likes JPL. So that's kind of where we are at with this drama. Like I said, there's something about this genre I really like, and I also like how they have highlighted the friendship between these two girls, because I think that's the strongest part of this drama, right? The relationship between them is very genuine, and you can see it, and you can see that they care about each other very much. The only caveat again is JPL and Younger's feeling, I'll say, for JPL. Me personally, I don't really see anything from JPL towards Youngri. Like, he's nice to her, but I don't think it's anything to like get the Lulu over if I was like Youngri. But I can see how him being nice to her is why she likes him, and just what she thinks is fate, because again, she's so young and she has kind of associated all the times they've met as faith. She summed it up as faith, and honestly, JP is just this guy that she has met a couple of times by chance, and he also has his own feelings, he has his own thoughts, his own dreams and hopes, and also has someone that he likes, which is Jung-hee. So I do not blame JP for not liking Youngray, even though yeah, she's amazing, but I don't think there's anything wrong in the fact that this is an unrequited love. The other part where this drama shines, I think for me, is in the other things that are going on in the background, right? One thing that is very clear to us, is that these bus conductor girls are not like prime workers. They are workers that work under strenuous activities, and we see in a scene where one of them, falls off the bus because there's a policy to leave the door open, really to squeeze in as many people as you can onto the bus. And so she mistakenly, just falls off the bus and results in her losing her leg. I really like the arc of this where Young Grey really works really, really hard to try and get the company to compensate the girl that fell off the bus, right? That's a very, very important part of history I think they mention, because it's something that back then it wasn't really a thing. Like, I feel like even now maybe workers' rights is not important, right? And so you can see how much work went into her trying to attain that for her friend. And you can also see kind of the tactics these companies will use to make sure that they don't have to pay things like that, right? So they will pick out one or two of the protesters and try and get them to turn one by one, right? And that's kind of what happens here, right? They threaten them kind of individually, and because of that, a lot of them will give way. But obviously, Young Grey is different because she has people that know these things, right? She also knows people that are wealthy, right? One of them is her brother's friend, Jung Hyun, right? Jung Hyun is a lawyer to be, right? He's in law school, I believe. And so he knows workers' rights. He knows this thing. And he, likes Young Grey. So he's more than willing to assist her in making sure that she gets what she wants. And so that's how they're able to get past this, and they're able to get the compensation they want for her. And I find the drama even more amazing because even after they get the compensation for her friend, right? Because Young Grey was the ringleader for this, you see the fallout of that, right? With her manager. I will say that when they first introduced her manager, I had some sense of good feeling towards him, because it was kind of this comedic relief, in that he was the one to make a lot of jokes, even though his colleagues didn't really care for his jokes. You can tell that he was that character for us, and so to an extent I felt a little bit relaxed when I thought about this company and the fact that Young Grey and Jung Hui works here. I felt okay, to an extent this is a good company, but you really see how even good people can become something else when their bottom line is touched, right? And so we gradually see as the manager becomes kind of the villain, right? In the most recent episode that I aired, to the point where it gets physical and Jung Hui has to stab him and run away after. So I really like that they showed that, because that's often the case too with people that are the ones to organize protests and actually challenge companies. They end up taking the huge flack of that from the company, and that's kind of what we see here. So I really like that they showed that, because it's an ongoing issue and trying to unionize, because that's kind of what they are not unionized, of course, but that's kind of what they were doing. And if you had given them enough time, they would have done that, because that's just what makes sense, right? So I think that it's really cool how they kind of showed that in this. Another huge plot point in this is kind of how poor Young Grey and Young Grey's friends are, right? Think of the one girl that needed compensation. You can imagine that she's probably one of 5 kids that just happens to be the one that they sent to be a bus conductor. These are also girls that do not have education, right? And it's very interesting because you can see that as compared to now in South Korea, where education is everything, and that is what everybody works towards at a certain age. Back then, it was a thing that only rich people did, right? You only went to school, to college, if you had someone, if you were really, really smart, right? And you could somehow get in and maybe get scholarships and things like that. And so our character, Young Grey, that wants to go to college, right? This is a shock to our family, because they don't have the money and things like that, right? And so it's very interesting to see how different the mindset towards college was back then as opposed to now, where that's the only way you can get ahead in life, right? But back then, I guess Jung Hui's idea, or the idea of like doing something other than college was more prevalent, and you see a lot of these young girls that should be in college are not, and they are just working directly because it makes them money immediately. And who goes to college? Even college is expensive, and you have to kind of be smart for it, right? And so it's interesting to see that as well. It's interesting to see how Young Ray is having to deal with the fact that she really comes from a poor family, right? Like, this is something that unfortunately all the characters know very well of, other than like the few characters that are wealthy, right? So we have Jung Hyun, right? So he's one person that's rich, comes from a rich family, and then you have JPO. So the guy characters come from rich families, but like I'll say that the girl characters do not, right? And Younger's family definitely do not come from a wealthy family, right? And you can see how money is such a big problem, because even Younger's family and her uncle's family don't even get along, because they have some wealth and they don't want to share that at all, right? And you have Younger's like mom struggling for the littlest thing, right? And yeah, I find that a lot of their problems are only being solved because of who they know, and that's kind of how it is anywhere, but particularly here, like, it really is because of people like Junghui, who gives her money to get a new car. It's people like Jung Hyun, who is just there to like help her through some minor things that they're able to like get some things, even though they work very hard for it. But you can still see that like it's still wealth that's like solving a lot of the problems. And there's a scene where Jungkook like tells Younghoe, do you see how like scary money is now, right? And it's so real, because like that's like an overarching issue that they just always seem to have. um Currently where we're at, we've kind of fast forward to like 7 years or so, so not present day, but like just like about, right? And so things will be a lot different, but from what I can see, you can see that Young most likely isn't going to college. She's like in a barber shop or something, or hairstylist, like salon or something, right? So I'm curious about where she ends up, right, after what happens with the manager at the transportation center. But yeah, I do find this drama to be very interesting, and obviously the romance is that part that is either like a source of pain or happiness for people. I personally don't care for Youngri and JPL to be together, and I don't think they will be, just because of how JPL has acted up till now. um so I do genuinely think that Youngri is most likely going to end up with Jung Hyun, who is our brother's best friend, right? Just because I think she would be playing second fiddle to Jung Hee in that relationship with JPO. Like, she would always be kind of like the second choice. So, I don't think that's where they'll go with it, but they will hint at it, I think. But I think at some point Youngri is going to like actually give up on it. And she seems to have been already. But I think because now that Jungri is not there and it's her and JPO, she's redeveloping that feelings, and that will happen until like Jungkook comes back and they really like hash it out and resolve this conflict. But I'm hoping that they don't drag this on till the very very end, and like the girls keep their relationship and their friendship, because I think that's actually the core of this drama. That friendship that they have, it's very very strong, and I don't think a guy should be the one to ruin it. I'm begging, it better not happen. And I don't think it will, because I think Youngri and Jungkook are genuinely like thoughtful people. Like, they also like really like one another. So I think that they will work it out, right? Because we even see that Jungkook is willing to give up like JPL at a point, right? Because she learns that Youngri likes him, right? So I think that that's what's gonna happen. I think they're gonna resolve this, and it's going to be really JPL and Jungkook, and then Youngri either finding herself going to college or ending up with Junghyun. So that's my hope, right? But so far so good. I really like this drama. I think it's well done. I think that this is one of those dramas that I feel like I've not seen a lot of in this past few years. But once in a while we get one like this that's very very good, and I love it very much. So yeah, that's really all I have in this episode to talk about. I hope you guys are having a great week so far, and I hope I'll see you guys again next week. Thank you guys so much for listening. Have a lovely one. Bye.